We'll turn now to our last speaker so that we can engage with some questions. Juan Chebly, who's with the Millennium Campaign here at the UN, and looking at also at how to use the Millennium Campaign as well now in the post-2015 development agenda. So he'll be sharing a bit how they're using technology to put together information coming from the UN, from civil society, and how this can also be applicable and maybe useful for this discussion as well.
Thank you, Alejandra. Yes, my name is Juan Chebly. I work for the UN Millennium Campaign. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. I see that this is an amazing conversation, intergenerational, great gender balance, and of course, here at UNDP, today we're celebrating actually 25 years of the first Human Development Report. So it's a big milestone, and it's great to be discussing these topics. But I wanted to share with you today a little bit about the work that we do at the UN Millennium Campaign, which is an initiative founded by our former Secretary General, Kofi Annan, which was meant to really promote the Millennium Development Goals. Are you guys familiar with the Millennium Development Goals? Raise your hand. I guess we all are. One drawback about the Millennium Development Goals, if anybody can highlight or point one flaw of the Millennium Development Goals, what would you say?
They didn't mention indigenous people.
Great. Somebody's saying, Roberto, how are you?
Good.
They didn't mention indigenous people. Why was that?
Because they wanted to make the agenda universal.
They wanted to make the agenda universal. Were you consulted on what the MDGs should be?
I wasn't.
Well, I was a bit young at that age, but I'm assuming Roberto, were you already involved in these topics? And it's a shame. It's a shame, but it actually was a very top-down approach on what development should be. And this actually caused the fact that we had to create a whole campaign to promote and create awareness about the MDGs. So this time around, being loyal to the UN founding charter. So can anybody tell me what are the three first words of the UN founding charter, the preface? I hear we the peoples. We the peoples. Let's say it, one time and again, because I think that the concept of inclusion sometimes gets lost, and the concept of participation sometimes is missing in the halls of the UN. And this is exactly what we have been trying to change. And we have been doing that through two main platforms. The first one is a global survey. It's called the My World Survey. It's reached out to about 7 million people worldwide in 194 countries. About 80% of the votes are coming from paper ballots, pen and paper ballots, because we understand that in order to reach the most marginalized, the most excluded, we needed to use a combination of traditional and modern technologies. So you could fill out the survey also through your mobile phone or through a website. So if you haven't done so, you still have a chance, Roberto, to participate and tell the UN what you think the SDGs should include. But then we have a second platform. And we understood that, a survey is great for some people. It takes 5 minutes at the most. But then some people want to get more involved at a more substantive level. So together with civil society, we have created a platform, and this platform is it's an open forum where you can, at the more substantive level, participate in different consultations that have been going on. We have held, through the help of the UN system, over more than 100 national consultations, 11 thematic consultations with experts, and then we also launched a round on how to implement this agenda. So, basically opening the window, opening the door, and listening to what people want this agenda to be. And finally, given the context of today, we wanted to really show how this looks like. Because what we found out is we ended up with over 1,600 documents, voices of people, aspirations, dreams of people, in indigenous communities, in the most remote communities that you can imagine, thanks to, volunteerism around the world, young people riding bicycles and reaching out. But we ended up with all this input, which even when it was summarized, still, 1,600, we actually estimate over 1 million qualitative inputs. I mean, that's a big number. A PhD dissertation only takes about, what, 20 qualitative inputs. Here, we're sitting and we're looking at 1 million qualitative inputs. Now, how do we make sense of all of this? And how do we make sure that then the politicians across the street, as they gather today and through the week to discuss how we're going to finance sustainable development, how do we convey that message? How do we amplify people's voices? Well, here's one solution. The visualization that you have on the screen actually allows you to browse different data sets, whether they are UN-led consultations or consultations initiated by civil society. But let me point to the Equator Initiative. Thank you, Equator Initiative, for organizing this wonderful event. Here, there are 250 or 150 case studies that feature solutions from communities, local communities worldwide. And you can easily browse them and learn from them. All you have to do is select the data set and click on search. And then you'll find that, the Equator Initiative case studies are mainly touching upon the issues that matter most to local communities. Here you can see it, it's very prominent. But then you can browse, what are the topics that are being most mentioned, and also what are the relationships among them. So if you're coming from the women's constituency, you can click on that particular issue and see how that relates to, say, forests. And then what you're going to find out is that, hey, there are actually 24 documents within the Equator Initiative case studies that are touching upon the issue of women and forests. And then you can get a list of documents. And then, voila, the document pops up, and you can learn what the women of Guatemala were doing in terms of finding sustainable development solutions for their forest. So here you have it, worldwe12015.org. If you want to vote on the survey, please visit myworld2015.org. If you have any questions, I'll be happy. Thank you.
Okay.